Hello and welcome to this episode of the Christopher Hall Training Podcast, where we're going to be talking about advanced core training methods. We're going to talk about exercises that I would include within this and some exercises that I would disregard when it comes to advanced core training methods. So let's start by talking about exercises, or a kind of exercise. I'm not going to go through every exercise, but hopefully what I'm about to describe will sort of highlight the type of exercise that I would disregard from an advanced core training method. So if you can imagine doing like a hand plank, so on 4 big sort of stability gym balls. So you're in a hand plank, so you've got one hand on one ball, another hand on another, foot on one, or 1 foot on a ball and the other foot on a ball. So essentially you're doing a hand plank on stability balls. Now I would disregard that from advanced core training methods. There is an element of core strength involved in it. I would just see it as a very unnecessary exercise, partly because there aren't any real transferable skills from that position. It's a feat of strength, absolutely. So if that's what one is trying to achieve, then fine. But with regards to it being practical and transferable when it comes to everyday life and sort of sports, performance, things like that, it's a very unnecessary exercise. It's not really going to do you a great deal of benefit. What is useful is building up from let's just say a beginner's level, building up a sensible base of the ability to stiffen the core, so to brace the abdominals and stiffen the torso. That's sort of number 1, is just the ability to brace that. Number 2 is to build core endurance and core stability into that, or as an extension of that. And then, which is kind of what that exercise is about, which is more about core strength, I just don't think you need to go that far. So once you've got a suitable level of core endurance, core stability and core strength, you would then move on to what I would describe, or has been described, as core speed strength. Now this is what I would describe as an advanced core training method. Now the easiest way I found to describe it is moving light weights fast. So it's your body's ability to move quickly with a weight. Now, with regards to the gym, you would obviously be using a weight, but with regards to a sporting performance, it could be bowling in cricket, it could be pitching in baseball, it could be kicking a football, it could be sprinting, because all of that is about moving a limb very quickly. Now obviously there are other aspects to it which we'll cover. There is a degree of acceleration and deceleration and elasticity that comes with all of that. But what we are looking to do is, number 1, we're looking to move a light weight fast. Then what comes into it, which is the next part, which again is another transferable skill, is you are training your body to contract, relax, contract. So there is a pulsing nature to how the core works. So if we take a golf swing as an example, or a boxer punching, what happens as the club goes into the backswing? So as the swing is initiated into the backswing, there is a mild tensioning of the torso. As it then goes through the backswing, there will be a very mild, and I mean very mild, it's not going to completely relax before people jump on it. There will be a very mild relaxation of the torso. As it gets to the top of the backswing and change direction, there will then be another contraction. So it will be a pulse. That will initiate the swing, and again there will be a mild relaxation as the club comes through the air, and then again a very mild contraction as the ball is hit. So this the contract, relax, contract is very much determined by the activity. So if it is a boxer punching, there will be a greater degree of pulsing and contract and relax. But if it's a golf swing, it will be the same principle, but to a lesser degree and done in a slightly different way. But what's universal between those two potentially extreme examples is that there is a pulsing, so a contract, relax, contract. Same with a kickboxer. Again, when the leg is picked up off the floor, contraction. When it's brought into the backswing, relaxation. When it's changing direction, so it stops and goes in the other direction, there's another contraction. As it goes through the air, there's a relaxation. As it hits its target, there's another contraction. So throughout all these sporting performances, one, they've got to move quickly, which is what we talked about in point number 1, which is obviously a very quick point, moving lightweights fast. But then number 2, there is this pulsing effect to it as well. So that is the contract, relax, contract. So within all of these examples, or these 3 examples, and there are many more which I don't really need to go into because we've talked about the principle, there is this contract, relax, contract. That's why I'm describing these advanced core training methods in this way, because although it's not replicating it in the gym necessarily with weights and with certain exercises, it is the honing and the training of the principles, which is you are able to do. So you can hone and train the principles in the gym, and then when you go out and do the sporting performance, you then transfer it and apply it to that specific skill. So you have, in strength and conditioning, you have the development of the anatomy. What you would then do is go to a skills coach and then transfer that anatomy into that specific skill. And that, in some respects, is how sport-specific training works. Sport-specific training isn't about getting a golfer on a cable machine and replicating the golf swing. That's not what it's about. It's about training the tissues to contract, relax, contract. Then you need to go out of the gym environment, the controlled, formulated environment, into skill-specific, which is where the sport-specific part comes in. If you put those two together, you get sport-specific training. If they are apart, you don't have sport-specific training. You just kind of have a skills training and then an anatomy training, if you will. Number 3, which kind of goes out, I've briefly mentioned it so far, which is there is an element of acceleration and deceleration to it. And what comes with this acceleration and deceleration is an ability of elasticity within the tissues, so the tendons, the fascia, and the muscle. So what happens is when this golf swing, when this kickboxer kicking, or when this boxer punching, when they go back, they are essentially priming an elastic band. So they use the force, so they generate the force in the backswing, that primes the elastic band, which then goes into what's called a stretch reflex. And the stretch reflex, or one of the principles of the stretch reflex, is the faster it is stretched, the faster it will recoil. So it's about generating the force in that pulse. So that initial pulse is about generating the force to create the speed to go into that backswing, which then activates the stretch reflex to then go as far back as it can. Then it starts to decelerate and snap back in the other direction. So basically, the faster you go back, the faster you come forward. And this is what we're trying to train when it comes to more performance. Well, I say performance and sports, but this is just advanced core training. So running is another one. Every time your foot hits the floor, there is a mild contraction of the core. Every time it comes off and you are in between stances, if you will, and both feet are off the floor, it will relax. And then when your foot hits the floor again, it will contract again. So again, you can do this from upper body down the arms into the core, or lower body up the legs into the core, whichever way your sport or whatever is working. But there is the acceleration and deceleration. So when you do these exercises, you need to accelerate up, you need to consciously decelerate and pull the weight back down, again accelerating in the other direction. This is what the elastic band is there to do, and you are then, it's a much more efficient way of moving. So it's a much more efficient way of running, of kicking, of throwing. if we are using these types of principles. So we need to be able to accelerate and decelerate. And again, we need to be doing this in a gym with some weights. And again, it doesn't need to be heavy weights, it just needs to be light weights, and we need to move them fast. So they need to be heavy enough that we can move them fast, but they need to be light enough that we can control it and consciously generate this power as it needs to be generated. The next thing is moving from the hips and the shoulders. So what we're trying now not to do is have huge amounts of movement in the spine, because the spine can be then used as a more of a rigid spring. Now, this is where it is, let's just say, allowed to move. So I get a lot of comments in other videos when I'm talking about core training about don't move the spine. At a beginner's level, if there is pain involved, so at just a basic core training level, without any pain, I would recommend maintain position of the spine in a neutral position. If there's pain involved, do exactly the same. If you've got good core endurance, core stability, core strength, and you're moving into speed strength as an advanced core training method, now you are able to move the spine, because with the lighter weights, with the contract, relax, contract, that pulsing will help protect the spine. It's a very efficient way of moving as well. So we are able to generate lots of power, and we are able to shift a lot of weight very quickly. So it makes sporting performance that much more effective. So we need to be able to think of it in that way. So if we talk about a golf swing, that's probably the most obvious, because there is a very obvious turning of the torso. But what's happening is, as we initiate, we've contracted around the spine. That protects it as it generates the force. If we don't contract and we generate force at the hip, that's going to sort of dissipate the energy and put stress on the spine. But if we initiate the force at the hips with a mild contraction of the torso, we are then protecting the spine. So as we go into the backswing and the spine is twisting and potentially extending, so it is moving, because there's low load, because the muscles are relaxed, it is able to go through that with a reduced stress on the spine. When we get back up into the top of the swing and we again initiate the movement from shoulders and the hips, we contract again and we change direction. So again, that protects the spine as it goes through the swing. The load on the spine isn't there, and then we hit the ball and it contracts again. So what we're doing is we are controlling how we move the spine and how we load the spine. Because what happens if we load the spine and if we generate force, sorry, not if we load the spine, if we tension around the spine and if we generate force, we are protecting it. What then starts to happen is the torso, which I guess is sort of like the next principle, the torso becomes an energy transfer unit. So if we go back to the golf swing, again, the principles are the same throughout different sporting movements. But if we go back to the golf swing, if we generate force from the hips and the shoulders, and then there isn't tension in the spine, or around the torso, sorry, that energy gets leaked out wherever the weakness was. So that is known as an energy leak. So we have just lost some of that force. So we won't be producing as much force. So the people that are able to hit the golf ball the furthest are not necessarily the strongest. What they are is the best at contract, relax, contract. So when they contract, they do it in unison with generating force at the hips and the shoulders. They then create speed, which takes them through the swing, and then that gets transferred into the ball. If there is any dissipation and any energy leak within that system, so that contract, relax, contract isn't pulsing at the right time as they move, energy will be released and the ball won't go quite as far. So when your sort of mind is slightly boggled about why can't bigger, stronger people hit a golf ball further because they are stronger, it's not because of that. It's because of how their body is tuned and how their core is tuned and how much force they can produce and how much force they can use that they have produced. So it's not a strength skill, it is a tuning skill, which comes with repetition and practice and so on and so forth. So we need to be very clear on how the torso works. So if we start talking about exercises that will start to do this, it would be kettlebell type exercises, kettlebell rotation exercises, like an atlas swing, like a kettlebell swing, like a double arm swing or a single arm swing, like reverse chopping, reverse chopping or chopping with a cable, reverse chopping with a kettlebell. So all of these types of exercises are taking these principles of moving light weights fast. Now there are more exercises, and if you want to put them in the comment section below and I can comment on whether I think that they are or not, then by all means just leave a comment in the section below, in the description, in the comment section below. But essentially we're looking at kettlebell exercises because what we're able to do is use the kettlebell like the swing of a golf club. Obviously it's going to be a lot heavier, but what we are able to do is tune our contract, relax, contract at the top of the movement and at the bottom of the movement. So we create that whipping movement, that pulsing element to the movement, so we are then able to get more from it. And then all we need to do is transfer that from the gym environment into the sport specific skill element to it. So it's not about trying to recreate exercises in the gym, but we are trying to recreate the principles. So we're trying to recreate the contract, relax, contract. We're trying to recreate the acceleration and deceleration. We're trying to recreate the generation of force and transferring that through the torso. So it's trying to understand the core in this way that will help us move more efficiently, reduce risk of injury, and get more from everyday life, more from sports, more from performance. Now, again, it can just be done as an advanced core training. So again, how I work with people, if someone comes to me, I work them through that beginner's phase, core stiffness, core endurance, core stability, get core strength going. Then we move into speed strength. You can also add in there strength and stability as in the same exercises, and we can do that as well. But core speed strength comes later on when they've got an ability to first of all hold their torso, and then eventually we work into the tuning part of it, and then we can take that in any direction that they want to take it. So hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully it's given you a better idea of what advanced core training methods look like. And then what you're able to do is train it in a gym and then train it outside of a gym. So many thanks for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you've liked it, hit the like button below. If you've learned something new, hit the thanks button below. If you've got a comment or a question, leave it in the comment section below. If you want to watch more videos like this, please do hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, and I will and then you'll receive more videos when they're released. So many thanks for watching. I'll speak to you soon.